Yes, congratulations for finding the room. I think that's the first lesson, first victory of the day. So my name is Antoine Borde. I'm vice president in charge of AI at Helsing. Helsing is a European multi-domestic company focused on AI for the defense sector. Especially, we focus on software, we work on AI, and we work as close as possible to the sensors. So AI for real-time embedded sensors. We've been created 3 years ago, and we're happy to be here, to be part of the sponsorship for this event. Today, for the next, 45 minutes or so, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what is AI. In my words, I've been doing AI for 20 years. Where it's going, and of course the impact of AI on defense with the lens about what's happening in Ukraine. So I hope it will be interesting for you. And it's a small room. I'm here. If you have questions, just stop me and I will answer if I can. Okay, so that's me, Antoine Borde. I usually like to start this presentation talking about where does AI, when did AI start, when it ends. This quote is from Bill Gates a year ago, roughly almost day to day, March 2023. This was the release of GPT-4 by OpenAI, and so there was this blog post by Bill Gates, and basically the title of the blog post was "The Age of AI has begun." Of course, AI is a term from the 70s, and it has been there for a while. The age of AI was because the skills that GPT-4 had for someone like Bill Gates who's been in technology for a while were really transformative. We can discuss about this, but I think it's interesting to have this perspective. The most important quote for me in that is, entire industries will reorient around it. So the age of AI began because some company achieved some technological breakthrough with GPT-4. Well, who can use that? Who can deploy that? Who can employ that for their use cases, and when and how fast is still at play. And is still at play for many industries, healthcare, transportation, and of course for defense. And so there's really a challenge about how well they use it, okay? How are they able to grasp the speed, the wave of technology that's coming for AI? Who's able to catch the wave? Who's able to ride the wave? Who's able to surf the wave? Who are going to miss the wave as well? It's for businesses, and I would say for sector. And if we talk about defense, it's even a matter of like countries, right? And if you listen to the French Minister for Defense last Friday, when he exposed his AI strategy, he said something of the sort as well. We need to take this wave. So, what's the wave that we're talking about? So, AI, the X factor. I think that's the first angle, I think, to talk about the same thing. I want to tell you just in a few minutes about what is AI and why are we talking about it that much. I mean, you've all used ChatGPT and some of the thoughts, but there is a bit of a trajectory an acceleration for the last 10 years that I think is quite informative in terms of how we should position ourselves to try to catch this wave, if you see that. So in the last 10 years also, 3 major revolutions are really made like AI from, okay, it's something from the 70s that is fun, nobody really cares about it. I mean, I did my PhD in 2006, and I wasn't saying that I was doing AI because he was lame at the time, and he looked very old and dated. Saying that you are doing statistics was actually much more cool. Okay, so this has changed a lot because first of the revolution of GPUs. So 2012, we have been able, starting in Canada, to use GPUs, so these processors that were made for graphics at first, to train AI models, a subset of AI models that were neural networks or deep learning. So this made a change because then this method that were already around have been able to work, okay, because of the use of this processor. At the time, the model were actually pretty simple. When you were giving them an image like the one I showed, they would give you one label. Okay, it's a statue. That's it. So it was pretty constrained, but people were already quite impressed that it works that well. I like this 2012, 2013 era because this is the beginning of a big tech taking over AI. Okay, 2012 is the creation of DeepMind. 2013 is the creation of FAIR, the laboratory of Meta, where I was for 10 years. This is also the time where a lot of the talent, a lot of the investment have been going in big tech, mostly US big tech, and I've been drawing from that. And since this day, all the innovation, major innovation, have been coming from these big companies. Not really from university, not from the public sector, very few from Europe, except from DeepMind. DeepMind is in London, but DeepMind is owned by Google. So we can talk about, maybe if you have questions about Europe being back, right? That could be interesting. But that's the point at this time. And so I joined Meta in 2013. Me and Yann Lequin in France joined in 2013, and many other sorts. So this was really at the beginning. But at the time, AI was still like, even us, we were wondering, like, why do they care about AI? Because it's really still something that's interesting, but not really big time. The second big turn, 2018, the concept has been older, but the data I put is basically when they started to rework. It's self-supervised training, pre-training. I think this one is really key. I will just spend like 2 minutes on this one if you're not familiar with this. Because I think for defense is actually maybe the really important one. They all compound to each other. So GPUs are still around, of course. I mean, if you follow the stock price of NVIDIA, who's the owner of the monopoly of building GPUs, who's now maybe the fourth most profitable, or at least highest valuation of the American company. You can see that. So GPU is still there, of course, more than ever. Self-supervised pre-training. The difference between these two is that up until 2018, you were needed to have labeled data. So if you want to train an AI, you need to give precise information about what the AI should do. So if you want the AI to do classification of images, like this is a statue, this is not a statue, you would need to label a lot of images with this is a statue, this is a car, blah, blah, blah. So problem with labeling, it's costly, okay? Labeling cars a statue, you could maybe do it online, and there are all these companies that are there to labels, but if you go to more precise data, secret data, confidential data, where are you going to find a notation for that? It's getting tricky. It's also very biased as well. You know, when I label this as statue, there's also trees, there's the sky, this is outdoor, this is marble. You know, when does the annotation start? When does it stop, right? I cannot annotate everything. It doesn't make sense. So self-supervised learning is this idea that we can do a pre-training, so the machine is not finalized, but we can pre-train it by just giving it raw data, or at least not annotated. So I can give images, a lot of it. I don't need experts to look at them, and the machine is going to pre-train itself. And for instance, with the latest pre-training models, the one from last year, because they keep improving, with just like giving it images, you can have something like this. Okay, so the machine doesn't know what is what. It doesn't know how to name things. It doesn't know that this is a statue. But it knows that all these pixels belong together. All these pixels belong together. And this and that look the same object, okay? So then, if you want to label statue, here you might need to label 1,000 or 10,000 images. Here, maybe you need 10. Okay, you see this yellow block? These are statues. And the machine actually learns itself much faster. Needs fewer label data, fewer expertise, faster turnaround. And I'm going to give you a bit of how ChatGPT works later. This is exactly why it works. Because I'm using the example of like computer vision, so images, but for text, for language, this is the same process and the dates are almost the same. The last revolution, 2022, the one from 2022 and onwards, 2023, this is generative AI. So you went from I give an image and it can give you one word to I give a sentence and it can generate the image. I guess you've all seen all the consequences of that. Fake news, generating images, etc. But so I'm talking about the technology. So this is really from 2012 to 2022. This is the acceleration that's been going. For images, for sound, for text, all at the same time. All driven. I mean, this work has been mostly NVIDIA, Google, and Meta. This has been a lot of Meta and DeepMind. And this is a lot of OpenAI and DeepMind as well, right? So, you know, you can read the news. So, Generative AI, just on that, for a context like a military context, can seem pretty far out sometimes, especially generating images. It can be actually pretty closer than we think, especially to simulate data sets, situations for which we don't have any data. They haven't occurred. So I did some samples for you for this presentation, and I asked one of the image simulator to simulate a Navy base that's attacked by a swarm of drones at dusk, okay? And from the point of view of drones, okay? So this is fake, okay? This is not a real one. I asked it at dusk. The interesting part is that it's going to simulate some drone-looking object, but the dusk, the perspective, and then on that you can test a lot of systems. Can we detect the drone at this time? How fast? How well? Etc. And you can do it once. You can do it 4 times. You can do it 16 times. And you can do it the limit. So, all of the time you see a unicity in terms of this is at dusk, there is a Navy base, but the drones are different, the point of view are different. This is fixed-wing drones, these are quadcopters, etc. So you can use that, not to train your model that's going to be deployed, etc., but to use already generative AI right now to test and to gut check and to benchmark the method you have to see, can we do that? To train actually the operators as well, by the way. You can also do that and say, okay, we are going to simulate more. So these advances can seem pretty far, they can be pretty close. I said that I would talk about LLM to finish this introduction about AI. LLM are built, so ChatGPT, but all the other one, Le Chat from Mistral works the same, if you want to have a French example. LLM are built 3 steps, okay? The first step is self-supervised pre-training that I said before. So you have a lot of data, basically the whole web, or all the data that you can collect, legally or not. There's a whole debate about copyright and stuff, but everything you can, and that you're going to train a model in a self-supervised manner to do that. It takes a long time. The training can take weeks or months. Data can be in the petabytes, so it's a lot. And you need a lot of compute, in the tens or thousands or tens of thousands of GPUs. So in the 1 to 10 megawatts to train those models. So this is why a lot of the crazy money rounds that you see for generative AI startups, 100 million, 200 million, 400 million, etc., all of it is to buy the compute, right? The teams are small. Mistral, when they created their first model, was 15 people. So the team is small, okay, but the compute is big, okay, for this part. So a lot of questions about gathering data, training, etc., and the training is self-supervised, right? They don't annotate the data. They have methods that looks at the data and is able to grasp pattern from it. I showed you an example in the image space. In the text space, they would do something else. They would discover the grammar. They would discover that adjectives are before the noun in English. They would discover a lot of things like that automatically. Then that's phase 1. Phase 2 is supervised fine-tuning. The first phase is basically a model that's able to predict words, but it's not able to be useful for anything you need. It's more raw. So then they will do annotate data. So they have much smaller set of annotate data that tells you a lot of the tasks that they want you to do, right? Write me a recipe, tell me, answer this question, write me a recommendation letter, translate this text. I mean, everything you're using them for. They have some example that they show, but they don't have like millions of those. They have maybe 1 or 10 of each. Okay, so if I move to the defense sector, you might have a lot of data that's been sitting on servers that is not annotated, very hard to annotate. Maybe you could do that. And then your expertise, the unit expertise expert, they go there, right? And in that range, the compute is actually smaller on the hundreds of GPUs. So actually, it's much easier to deploy, maybe to deploy closer to the theater, maybe to deploy even on a frigate. It's possible. The data, I said the gigabytes, seriously, it depends. And the time to do the fine-tuning is actually in the hours, in the day, or even in the minutes. It depends, right? So we're really one order of magnitude because a lot of the work has been done before, and this one doesn't change. You fix it. This you can adapt as well for the task. Okay? And the last part is the continuous learning from deployment. So these models are not stopping, and that's also maybe a lot of the secret sauce. That's why ChatGPT actually gained an edge that's hard for the other one to catch up with. You do this, then you have a model here that you can talk to, and then you deploy it and you put it in for the users, for better or worse. And then user talk to it, for better or worse, and then you get feedback. Okay? So, do you know if you go on ChatGPT, you can put thumbs up, thumbs down, right? Did I like the answer or not? So, of course, when there's a thumbs up, they use that, they put it back in the machine, and they say, that was a good answer. Oh, I improve myself. When it's a thumbs down, bad answer, I improve as well. And of course, they also have annotators that are looking at the continuously about the answer of the model to say, okay, this is good, this is not. Okay? And so if I move to defense use cases, it's the same. We can deploy model in some conditions. We use the expertise we have. We continuously improve. So this is a moving thing. Improve because they go better at what they can do. Also improve because they can do new things. I detect new objects. I can detect new situations. I can continuously improve, even though this stays the same, the costly part, right? So that's the way it works for LLMs. A lot of the AI in general, I could say, oh, AI are built now, because a lot of the AI is for vision, for speech, for translation. They all have similar processes. This can be as small as like one GPU, one CPU, one FPGA. It depends on what you want. It could be more if you have, but it can be small. Data can be in megabytes to terabytes. I put terabytes because if you let it there, you can collect a lot of it, but you can use it as far as you go as well. So it's not like one big chunk. And the time, it can be seconds if you want to update on the real time, or it can be, you can control that. But these 3 steps are extremely important, and they use different compute requirements, different skills, and usually different expertise as well. Okay. So, on that, if I move back to the topic of this day and this forum, I think the first lesson is that military platforms are data platforms. Okay, they are data platform, and they do other things than just collecting data, of course, but they are data platform, plentiful data platform, and they collect, they acquire, they generate terabytes of data. And it's pretty clear that who masters data has the advantage. That's clear, and that's in the military. It's clear. It's been clear before, right? Why is Google so important? Why is Facebook who have been so important? Not because they have the best algorithm, it comes after, because they have the best data. It's clear. And then they put the intelligence on the data so that they can do the best of it, but it starts from the data. And data is there. So I put like some example of sensors underwater, in the sky, etc. So I think this is really a shift that needs to happen, if it's not already happening, is that the operation, the war zone, etc., this is plentiful of data. Okay? And so putting compute closer to this, putting algorithm closer to this, brings you like intelligence. You can make use of this data. So using some of the recipe I showed you before, I can pre-train something and then I can deploy it, etc. I mean, this is, I won't solve all the problem now, but this is clear because data is there. And the problem is that we generate it, but right now, many situations, we can't use it. We can't use it fast enough. We can't use it at the right time, etc. So this is an example in the electronic warfare field, but I could do it in the underwater acoustics as well. I could have done it in satellite imaging space. I mean, some of you are more expert in many of these topics, so I'm not even saying that I know all the topics. I'm just telling you what I know about data. That's a curve that we used at Helsing also when we worked on the Eurofighter upgrade that we're working with now with our partner Saab for the German customer. The idea is that this curve is going down. The gap between this is how much I was able to recognize the signal in the 90s to how much I'm going to recognize the signal in 2030s and beyond. So the gap is widening, not because the performance of the algorithm is decreasing. It's basically staying flat or increasing a little bit, but the quantity of data generating by the radars and also the complexity of the signal is increasing faster. So then you have this gap, which is I would like to say to recognize all of it, but then is that. So data is increasing, complexity is increasing, quantity is increasing. And if we don't keep up with the speed and the quality of the algorithm, then we have this gap widening. Okay? Of course, you don't want to be on the side. If the opponent has something that stays flat, then this is problematic. Basically, they see you, you don't see them. So that's why we call that electromagnetic fog. But and so it's not a matter of antennas. We can collect the data. It's not really a matter of like the radar themselves. It's more like what's the software that is able to swallow this data. This is terabytes of data per second, right? So this is not easy to do. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but it's more like, okay, who can do it? It's going to be quite important. And so I have a video, if it works, yeah. So that's basically what it looks like in a video. You know, you have emitters. So the fog that I'm talking about is like this. Time, frequency, pulse width. You have all these points that are all the different ways, all the different signals that you can collect. And you don't see them. So what AI can do is that you have all these fog of points. All these points are actually pulse coming from a radar. It's millions of them per second, So you have all this cloud. If you don't have proper algorithm, this is just a cloud. If you have proper algorithm, they can tell you, okay, this blue is the same thing that this and this. This is red. The color are not great, but basically can cluster you and say, okay, this comes from the same radar. Then you can do your processing, etc. This is signal processing technique using deep learning, using pre-training, etc. This can come and it can help you, and then you can deploy that and well, okay, these are these radars that I see. Maybe I know this one, maybe I don't know this one, but I know this is the same thing, etc. So this is signal processing that needs to work on the edge in real time with a lot of data, but this is really, really needed. The problem is that it's easier said than done, right? You could have said, okay, why is it not done already? Well, because that's the data that people in the AI community have been used to work with. Okay, I'm doing a detecting or classifier for tank. I have a very nice image, tank in the center, very clear, easy. When you have footage, for instance, from drones, you have something like that. Okay, so the fact about, oh yeah, we know how to do it in civilian time. I can bring it to actually on the operations, etc. It's actually not that easy. The compute is different, the quality of the data is different, so everything needs to be redone. But it's not impossible to do either. So, but yeah, we need people who are going to look at this problem. Of course, I took a really, really bad footage. It can be a bit worse, it can be a bit better. But there is this aspect about bringing it, takes time and expertise. But my point is that we must do it. So the first part that I wanted to talk about was about AI and the X factor, the revolution that came, and also the revolution that's coming for defense, that's already there, but that we need to act on. The second part I wanted to stress is that speed is key. Speed is key, especially innovation and iteration speed. So that's a quote from Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Rustem Umerov, from 2 months ago, a bit less than that. And that says that sufficient supplies of equipment, ammunition, maintenance, and spare parts are critical to success. I'm not an expert as much as you are, so I think you know that better than I do. The part of it that's very important as well, what it says, that breakthrough require innovation and significant technological progress. Central role in the agenda for them, of course. Innovation velocity and software and AI as core of it, clearly, it's at the core of what's happening in Ukraine, okay? And I don't think I need to convince people in this room, but that's core, AI. Else thing, we've been working in Ukraine for a long time. We actually signed a memorandum of collaboration with the Minister of Defense a few weeks ago. So we are there, we're close to the matter. Innovation and speed, and the more advanced we can, is extremely important and it's needed. So how does it work? So I want to take an example, how innovation needs to speed up, okay? So the Rafale, basically 30 years between expression of the first needs and the first mission, from the 70s to the 2000s, okay? 30 years, I'm not giving you precise, but basically 30 years, right? Where will we be in 30 years? It's an interesting question. AI, it's 30 years to 30 days, okay? 30 years to 30 days. That's basically what it means. And by the time of deploying models, deploying that, etc., this is 30 days. It's not a random that time a few weeks ago as this. I really recommend this read, by the way, The First AI War. This is really, our software and AI is actually keeping the pace. So all the clues that I give you at the first part, they are using them in bits and pieces. A lot with drones, of course, which is a big part of that, but beyond that. And so, of course, this is a matter of deploying in a week, in a day, in a month. So there's a whole work that needs to happen in terms of, okay, I don't think in decades now. I don't think in years, etc. I need to think next month, next 3 months, next 6 months. What can we do? What can we upgrade? Right? That's not just a technological shift. That's also a shift in terms of how we think about cycles. Right? 30 days, it's a typical cycle for Meta. Right? For updating the models, for updating the software. This is typical. If you have, and you must have smartphones, you know, the upgrade for iOS, etc. It's every 3 months. New security update. It's painful. We need to do it. Otherwise, blah blah. It's there because upgrades are continuous, right? If you own an electric car or a Tesla, for instance, or if you tried one, also upgrade to the car. We're upgrading the car, and we're not upgrading the car after 10 years. It's after a few months. Okay, autopilot version 3.0, autopilot version 4.0, etc., etc. So that's exactly what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And so accelerating that, and they need that, and it's also an accelerator, which means that because of all the data that's collected there, all the experiments, all the iterations there, also when you're there working there, you get a big boost, a big knowledge in terms of acceleration about innovation because you get return of experience, right? But you're on the field. So I feel that also the people, especially for technology, that are working in Ukraine and those that don't, there is a gap that's widening because of what you collect. If you remember what I was saying before about OpenAI and ChatGPT, OpenAI put ChatGPT online first, they gather the first queries, and then they can build some kind of competitive advantage that's compounding. Okay, it's a very different problem, but a different idea. People who are there, they gather the first return on experiment, data, what works, what doesn't, etc., and on that it compounds as well. So at some point, if you're not there, you are going to know what does it mean to deploy on a drone for ISR, etc. There are people who are doing it when you have completely GNS denied environment, they're doing it, they need to trade, and some people who just do it on their garage, right? And precisely, it's going to be very, 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 very different. And we've seen that in other technological advances. So this is what's happening now. So they did it. We need to speed up the innovation, speed up the cycles, and when you go there, you get a technological advantage back, I think. So I put this because this is 1 year ago. Okay, this is not yesterday. This is 1 year ago when they discovered that some of the kamikaze drones from Russia had GPU chips on them. Okay, so this is not like yesterday, oh, they put AI, they have GPU. It was 1 year ago. So imagine what they can do now. Okay, so Russia's smartest weapon might have an American brain because they had NVIDIA GPUs. How they can get NVIDIA GPUs, it may be an interesting talk because of the embargoes, etc., but they have it. March 28, 2023, okay? so AI, it's not even, AI on the battlefield. So if you have a GPU, you have an AI algorithm that do potentially target detection or image detection, navigation. I don't know what they do with it, but you have AI. If you don't do AI, you don't bother like putting a GPU. It's expensive, etc. Right? You have more conventional chip. So if you put it, it's because you have AI workload. This was 1 year ago, and so we keep accelerating there. So I used to say AI is today. I thought to say, okay, AI is actually yesterday, and we need to keep improving. So that's also this kind of velocity. And if you follow around the conflict, you can see what the Russians are saying, that they're showing some videos when they can actually detect targets from the higher ground, etc., etc. So this is continuous. And once again, this is mostly embedded compute and data streams. Okay, of course they are better at building the drones themselves, but a lot of these advances, how you could be faster in 6 months or a year, is because of software, and this is happening today. Last point on this. So that's Zelensky in December, Ukraine to produce 1 million drones next year, so 2024, this year. I guess reconnaissance drone, ISR drone, and strike drones. So he said that. Which software? 1 million drones, it's a lot of drones. It's a lot of drones. It's a lot of data collected as well. Who are going to build the software? What's the software? What's the capability there? Once again, if they manage to do that, it's a question. Okay, all the data produced by this, who's going to use that? Who's going to use that to actually get this loop, innovation loop? It's happening now. It's happening now. Okay, how am I doing on time? Oh, pretty good. Last part, and then so that we'll have a few minutes for questions. Unity is strength. L'union fait la force en français. I learned that yesterday. That's the translation. It's nice. So unity is strength for AI. Why? AI, and I recommend this read, Engine of Powers, Electricity AI, and General Purpose Military Transformation from last year. There is more and more a parallel that's being made between how AI is changing industries, in particular military, but the other ones, and how electricity did it 150 years ago. Okay, you didn't create like one electrified division that would be on the side, and you keep everything the same. You need to change from the ground up, embedded, and everything benefit as leveling and up-leveling all the skills for everybody. Right? That's been documented, and once again, this paper tells it very well. Electricity was actually general purpose military application. The telegraph electricity is 1840, right? And then he moved in multiple branch to actually impact different parts. With core branch, right, the motor and the batteries, but also the searchlights and the lightning, and also the comms, right? So it branches into multiple parts and it influences everything. And now saying, okay, there's no electricity would not make any sense. It's in the 1900s, and it's following, I think, the British one. And once again, from the same paper, there is also this about the electrical industrial base between Russia and United Kingdom. And you see that Russia basically started 20 years after the UK. And some say, and it's in the paper better, that actually a lot of the advantages that they were able to build in terms of the first radars, etc., started from also that. Right? So that's the point about how they can build up, and of course, at some point, it grew up. So that's for electricity. If you go back to our topic of today, AI has a lot of similarities. AI is not just for drones. It's not just for electronic warfare. It's not just for acoustics. It's even we even talk about assistant, planning the missions, etc. Right? The same way it can impact many things in the daily life or civilian life. It can impact many things in the military, like electricity. So we should not compound it in specific parts. And when I said before unity is key, is that this is the work of consortium. I don't think one company is going to do, we are going to do AI for military or defense. I don't think that makes any sense. I mentioned fighter jets before. I think that would be a mistake to say, okay, I do AI for fighter jet and I build a fighter jet, right? But on the other hand, when I'm building fighter jet and I'm doing AI, this is not the same job, training, skills, etc. So there is this need for partnership between AI native company or AI first company like us, but we're not the only one, and traditional defense company to take this turn. And take this turn in all the surface about what can do. And it's not just us saying that. You could say, oh yeah, you're Helsing, so of course you're preaching for your core. Yeah, I mean, I believe in it. But, we talked about OpenAI. OpenAI and Microsoft extend partnership. 2017, okay? 2017. Nobody in this room, I think, knew what OpenAI was. I mean, maybe a few. I'm not going to quiz, but 2017 was a long time ago. ChatGPT was released 5 years later, right? So, it's pretty old. Partnership, they put $1 billion in OpenAI. They grew that over time. The partnership was there. Why would Microsoft make a partnership with OpenAI in 2017? They have a lot of computer scientists. They have a whole AI labs, AI teams, right? Because they saw in OpenAI something that they could. Ruthless prioritization, very fast execution, and they feel, okay, that's Satya Nadella's, the CEO of Microsoft, vision, was like, they are going to own this part of AI, generative AI, they are going to be better than us. So I want to work with them. And now Microsoft is actually more, has a higher valuation than even Apple, right? And they keep their things and they work with them. So closer to friends, closer to us, not in defense, but in another sector, healthcare. This is a Sanofi and Owkin partnership in 2021, right? Owkin, Sanofi, okay, you're a drug manufacturer. I think you everybody knows. And there's a company of Hawkin. Hawkin is a French-American startup that's doing like AI for drug discovery, especially in cancer. Okay, Hawkin invested 180 million to take that, and they have a partnership. Hawkin is developing first, so is looking actually the research first of some pathologies in partnership with Sanofi. They have this partnership over that. I think Sanofi realized that for AI and drug discovery, Hawkin is going to be better than them. So let's work with them. March 2023, a year ago, in the US, Boeing and Shield AI. Okay, so Shield AI, small startup that is doing in the defense sector, that is doing AI copilot. So AI that's helping like pilots to train them and maybe potentially to train like UCAVs, etc., or to fly them. Partnership in 2023. After, and Antoine knows better, years of fights. Okay, Boeing tried to shield them down, etc. It didn't work, and somebody realized actually they are better than us at what they do. We're going to make it together, right? But it took them a lot of time. But I think for me this is the way, right? There is no other point. So that's also what we push at Helsing in general, is that these partnerships are a necessity. They are important. This is not unusual. It's actually pretty natural, and so we should make them. So on that, I've been speaking a lot, and so I would like to know if you have questions. Thank you. And there's a mic as well. Hello? Yeah. Questions? Yeah. Okay. I think it works.
J'hésite à parler en français pour défendre ma langue natale, ou à parler en anglais pour qu'on puisse comprendre. Je parle en français puisque l'occasion, je pense, m'en est donnée. Tu as mentionné que les innovations étaient beaucoup venues d'entreprises privées américaines depuis quelques années. Alors, à un niveau qui est celui de la France, on a vu vendredi la création d'une agence ministérielle pour l'IA de défense en France, et donc la volonté du ministre de reprendre la main peut-être à un niveau étatique sur la recherche et l'innovation. Est-ce que c'était une parenthèse, cette innovation tirée par le privé, et on revient peut-être à ce qu'on présentait comme souvent le paradigme de l'innovation de défense tirée par le public, qui après peut percoler dans le privé?
C'est une excellente question. Bon, je vais répondre en français du coup. Parenthèse, je pense pas. Mais je pense que le privé dans l'IA est quand même extrêmement puissant. Ça va être compliqué de faire sans. Le privé américain, mais même si la France et l'Europe s'organisent mieux. Pourquoi? Parce que dans ces piliers, il y a quand même dans l'IA en général, il y a 3 piliers qu'il faut que ça marche. Les données, j'en ai parlé, le calcul et les talents. Et pour l'instant, même si on veut rattraper, pour les 3, les données des entreprises en ont énormément. Alors dans la défense, ça va être un peu différent, donc c'est aussi pour ça que c'est pas perdu, mais il y en a quand même beaucoup. Et pour avoir l'IA de rupture, 2, et là je pense que c'est le plus problématique, c'est les ressources de calcul. C'est-à-dire que les ressources de calcul sont fabriquées en majeure partie par NVIDIA, mais ceux qui les développent et qui les font tourner, c'est les compagnies de cloud. Et donc c'est Microsoft, Google, Amazon en particulier. Et donc même s'il y a des acteurs français, donc ça, ce ne sera pas public, c'est-à-dire que enfin moi, les ressources de calcul publiques, je pense que ça va être compliqué, surtout à ces échelles-là. Enfin, on peut essayer, mais ce n'est même pas le mandat directement de l'agence. Oui, enfin, ils veulent avoir... Ah ouais, il va y avoir un cluster. Il va y avoir un cluster. Mais en tout cas, le cluster, qui va le fabriquer? Mais oui, c'est vrai. Donc, voilà. Non, mais il y a quand même un avantage. Donc, c'est pour ça que je trouve que ça prend du temps. Et le calcul, les ressources de calcul, c'est beaucoup d'investissement. Et ça prend du temps. Et après, sur les talents, alors là, je pense pour le coup qu'il y a plus, parce qu'effectivement, l'AMIAD va attirer à l'ambition d'attirer, je crois, 300 personnes, va le faire. Et je pense aussi qu'il y a une prise de conscience. Donc voilà, donc sur ces 3 piliers, ça va avancer, mais il y a quand même beaucoup de retard à rattraper. Le dernier point que je voulais soulever, c'est je ne sais pas si c'est une tribune ou un discours qui a été fait par le professeur Fei Li, qui est professeur à Stanford, donc en IA, qui a été longtemps à Google et qui a été une de celles je parlais de 2012, le virage de 2012, ça a été fait en partie grâce au travail de Fei Li. Donc elle est là depuis le début. Qui a appelé solennellement le gouvernement américain pour la création d'un cluster de calcul, une grappe de calcul en français, un cluster de calcul et des ressources dédiées pour l'académique. Parce qu'en fait, elle dit les académiques ne peuvent plus, même pas être en compétition, mais même suivre le train de l'IA des big tech, parce que les écarts sont tellement grands. Donc elle a appelé ça, et c'était la semaine dernière, en disant, et Stanford en IA est peut-être l'université la plus puissante au monde. Voilà. Donc, il y a une prise de conscience, il y a des efforts, mais il faut pas s'arrêter.
I will try English.
Yeah, sure.
You stressed a lot the difference of pace between the AI and the big platforms like the Rafale. Do you think it's realistic to integrate AI at the correct pace on the current platforms today? And what solutions would you recommend for future platforms that will be still 20 years in the making, like the efficace? And do you think, as it's a new technology, maybe there is a place for a European way of working on this?
Yeah, excellent question. So, two parts to this. First, yes, I really believe in retrofitting current platform with AI technology. It might not work for everything, but that's actually a big part of what we do at Helsing. Is not to say, okay, we're going to wait for the next generation fighter to actually put the AI inside. It's like, okay, what can we do with the Rafale? What could we do with the Mirage, etc. Right? And so the contract I was mentioning with the Eurofighter is actually Eurofighter upgrade, right? But it's a midlife upgrade, so after 10 years. So it's possible. I think that the change there is more like, okay, can they have like dedicated computers? Compute a little bit, that maybe not necessarily the main one, but another one in which you can do, I don't think we should change the avionics like every 6 months, right? I don't think it's a good idea, but something on the side that allows to control radars, that allows to control signals, etc. You could actually have more flexibility on that. So I think it's the way you design it. If you think about drones, right, augmenting them with AI is usually sometimes taking an embedded chip and sticking it into and maybe a new cameras and looking at that. So I think there is a lot of that because the embedded compute, it's like, I don't know, 50, 60, 100 watts, right? So it's actually feasible. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there. With regard to actually preparing the next generation for AI, yeah. So I don't think that we're going to be able to build like fighter jets faster, and that's not what I'm saying. So the point is more like, how do we design them so that they will be as ready as possible for the AI algorithm that will come in 5 to 10 years, even though we don't know them. And usually when you prepare for that, it's like try to project compute capacity over there, maybe sensors, maybe also project them so that maybe I can upgrade the compute easily, so that, okay, over there, I will be able to maybe switch what kind of parts, what are the partnership with manufacturer for compute, so that in 5 years, maybe they go bankrupt. Actually, they cannot make the new chip. Are we betting on NVIDIA? Do we bet like on embedded chip for, So I think there's a lot of compute for that, and also all the sensors around, right? Okay, I will make sure that we have the best quality data, we have the compute, and we hope that we have algorithm 5 to 10 years that can make the big use of that. Okay. So if you're on a plane, it's like 1 GPU, but if you're on the new aircraft carrier, for instance, it's big, right? So how do I put like a super, we talk about a cluster. Do I put a cluster on the aircraft carrier? Maybe not 1,000 GPU, 100 GPU, Or actually I plan for that. That's the kind of thing that I would recommend right now.
Et bonjour, 2 questions rapides. La première, c'est quelle est la stratégie d'Helsing pour justement nouer des partenariats, en particulier Helsing France. Et puis deuxième question, comment traitez-vous les enjeux de souveraineté? Et je parle de souveraineté nationale plus que de souveraineté européenne.
Ouais. Très bonne question. Donc, les enjeux de partenariat, donc, on discute avec tous les acteurs, on discute aussi avec l'AMIAD et la DGA. Donc l'enjeu, c'est de s'inscrire dans les programmes nationaux. Donc, je ne vais pas vous dire qu'on a un modèle, on en a en fait plusieurs et on travaille déjà avec des industriels. Et d'ailleurs, il y a des membres d'Helsing au fond de la salle qui pourront vous en dire plus. Au niveau de la souveraineté, l'entité Helsing SAS France est souveraine pour mener des programmes souverains, franchise only, avec des employés français et complètement air-gapped. C'est pas français ça du coup, mais peut être complètement déconnecté des programmes qu'on va avoir avec nos collègues allemands ou avec nos collègues britanniques. Et c'est déjà le cas d'ailleurs. Il y a des programmes au Royaume-Uni qui sont UK only, et donc on s'est équipé pour le faire avec le S2IE, etc. en France aussi.
Bonjour. Deux questions très rapides et sans lien l'une avec l'autre. La première, quel regard vous portez sur le rapprochement récent qu'il y a eu entre Mistral et Microsoft? Et Mistral a été assez critiqué pour ça juste après l'adoption de l'IACT. Et la deuxième, vous avez rappelé la citation du ministre de la Défense ukrainien sur la nécessité d'innovation. On connaît toutes les entreprises grandes et moins grandes qui travaillent avec l'Ukraine aujourd'hui. Est-ce que vous avez des informations sur le côté russe, en particulier dû au fait que de très nombreux ingénieurs et de gens extrêmement brillants ont fui le pays depuis 2 ans? Donc, où ils en sont, eux, de ce côté-là? Merci.
Effectivement, deux questions qui n'ont rien à voir. La première, qu'est-ce que j'en pense? J'en pense que, déjà, je pense que la polémique a été un peu montée en épingle, c'est mon avis, puisqu'en fait, on a dit Microsoft et Mistral, etc. C'est pas un partenariat exclusif. C'est-à-dire qu'il commence avec Microsoft, mais en fait, il va y aller sur les autres plateformes. Donc, je pense que effectivement, il y avait un enjeu d'affichage, je pense, avec Microsoft. Peut-être que Mistral est un petit peu naïf sur la façon dont ça allait être répercuté, mais je pense qu'en termes de stratégie long terme, ils n'ont pas dit on va rouler que pour Microsoft et on n'est pas comme avec OpenAI où c'est un partenariat structurel. D'ailleurs, je crois que Microsoft, je ne sais même pas si on fait un investissement dans Mistral, ou en tout cas, c'est pas énorme. Donc voilà, je pense que c'est plutôt peut-être une communication qui était peut-être pas très bien faite. Je pense que sur le fond, ça change pas grand-chose. Sauf que, et c'est un peu ce que je disais tout à l'heure, c'est inéluctable qu'une boîte comme Mistral aille sur les clouds des grosses boîtes, parce qu'il n'y a pas d'autres clouds. Donc on pourrait dire, pourquoi vous allez chez Microsoft et pas sur le cloud de OVH? Parce qu'il n'existe pas. Donc voilà, oui, il n'existe pas en GPU. Donc voilà, donc c'est aussi ça l'enjeu, c'est ok, mais s'ils ne vont pas avec Microsoft, alors peut-être qu'ils peuvent faire une communication différente, mais s'ils ne vont pas sur Google, sur AWS, sur Microsoft, ils vont où en fait? Et du coup, c'est aussi ça, et je pense que du côté de Mistral, c'est un peu ça, c'est qu'ils veulent avoir un impact mondial, être compétiteur d'OpenAI, il faut aller là-bas. Voilà. Donc voilà, donc je pense que c'est aussi un peu, faut aussi regarder qu'ils ne peuvent pas résoudre tous les problèmes tout seuls. La deuxième question, alors j'ai beaucoup moins d'informations parce que je ne suis pas là. Je pense qu'effectivement des gens sont partis. Franchement, je ne suis pas très inquiet pour eux non plus parce que déjà, traditionnellement, les Russes sont très forts en IA, en informatique, en cyber. Donc même si les talents sont partis, je pense que tout le monde n'est pas parti. Donc c'est la première chose. Et de deux, quand je parle de partenariat natif, là-bas, c'est-à-dire que c'est extrêmement natif. C'est-à-dire, je ne sais pas comment ils sont organisés, mais je suppose qu'en fait, entre la fabrication de drones et les laboratoires de computer science d'IA, je pense que la collaboration doit être extrêmement forte, extrêmement rapide, forcée ou non. Donc évidemment, ces courroies de transmission un peu entre les plateformes classiques et le software vont être extrêmement courtes. Donc en faisant ça, on a quand même si jamais on a des gens qui sont peut-être un peu moins performants qu'avant, un peu moins bons, on gagne quand même des cycles. Voilà. Alors que nous, il va falloir qu'on s'aligne avec des entreprises différentes, avec des agendas différents, etc. Donc voilà. Donc pour ça, et encore une fois, j'ai pas beaucoup plus d'infos que vous, je pense, mais en tout cas, si je regarde ces éléments-là, je pense pas qu'ils vont être nécessairement en retard là-dessus. Il y avait juste, vu que j'en parle, une information que je trouvais intéressante, c'est-à-dire qu'en fait, à un moment, on pense aussi que les Chinois sur l'apprentissage de grands modèles de langue, donc LLM, aurait du retard, puisqu'en fait, il y a un firewall, donc un Chinese wall, c'est fait qu'en fait, les Chinois ne peuvent pas voir le web entier, donc ils n'ont pas accès à autant de données pour apprendre les modèles de langue, puisqu'en fait, c'est fermé, etc. Bon, Baliverne, en fait, quand il y a besoin d'avoir accès à tout le web pour pouvoir apprendre, ils ont réussi à le faire, et il y a des modèles de langue en chinois. Alors, est-ce qu'ils sont pas aussi bons que GPT-4, qui est le meilleur? Peut-être pas, mais ils ne sont pas à la ramasse non plus. Donc c'est pour ça, c'est pour moi un exemple aussi de dire que quand les États sont déterminés, surtout quand c'est une culture technologique, ils arrivent quand même à... Soit ils sont en devant, soit ils suivent de très près. Et je crois qu'on est en retard.
10 minutes.
Ah, bon, bah si on a encore 10 minutes, mais on peut aussi s'arrêter. Allez-y.
Sir, I will try in English also.
Sure.
Other cousin, French Navy, French War School. I have 2 questions also. Could you give your point of view about generative AI from India, and you speak a little bit about Chinese? How do you think they are against US or EU? And the second question, you mentioned that data is the blood, is the key. Do you see a time when the human data will be useless for AI or not?
What do you mean by human data?
I mean the data generated by the human behavior that you have on the web or things like that.
Okay. Basically, you think that at some point, machine-generated data will be so plentiful that the core of data that was originally generated by human will be...
That's the point.
Yeah. This one is super nice. Discussion. The first one on China. So I think my assessment, seriously, don't quote me on this. I know there are journalists in the room, so don't quote me on this. But literally, I don't think they are ahead of American companies. I don't think they're still very far either, right? So I feel that the thing is that when I talk about iteration speed, is that, okay, you look at Mistral in France, right? There's very good team, very talented, etc. It took them less than a year, not to be GPT-4 level, but not very far, right? And they were 15 people, very good, right? So I would say if you China, maybe if you have, I think they can invest in like 5, 10, 20 Mistral if they want to in parallel and see what comes out of it. And given all the information, even if not everything is open source, Summit and these people actually they know and the method. So, even if you miss the train, I think you can catch up pretty fast. And pretty fast in the AI world might take 6 months, which is in the AI world is pretty slow. That's okay. So, in matter of, if you follow the news about AI, every week there's something new. So, week is really the currency of time over there. But if you say I give myself 3 months or 6 months, yeah, I think they can catch up. And so the interest is like, okay, what do I do with the superiority, etc. So that's my assessment. For image and for text is the same. I think they have an easier access to data, for instance, actually, because private data, public data, etc. could be merged. So that's pretty good. Apparently, they had an issue with GPUs because NVIDIA is not supposed to sell GPUs in China. I think they found ways, right? But yeah, so I would say a bit below, but not too far. We should not say they're super far. For the other question the question, if I rephrase it, is that, okay, the LLMs, or even the image generation data, they're trained on a lot of data available, mostly written by humans right now. So if you consider LLM, they'll be trained on all the text written by humanity since the age of scripture. It's not so true because they discard it, which is low quality, but that's a bit the point. The main source of this LLM are actually books, manuals, school books, because this is actually very good data for those. So, but right now, because of ChatGPT and the stuff, we generate a lot of data that's generated by the LLMs. Okay, that's also going back into the pool. And so at some point, you might think that actually the data that was actually generated by human was actually become a minority, and the LLM will learn on their own, on their previous generation. That's clearly where we are going. I know, but I don't know what it will do. I feel that it's a bit. So first off, the people training LLM, etc., are not training on everything they find. So actually, I see part of the secret sauce of this company is actually which data they use. Okay, do I use Twitter? Do I don't? Do I use Reddit? Do I don't? Do I use these books? Do I don't? Etc. So there's actually a lot of work. It's not annotating each word, but it's more like selecting like big corpus and saying this is high quality or not. So the same. I think they will be pretty skilled at detecting, okay, machine-generated data, I do, I don't, do I use it that has been generated by... So I think it will be part of... I don't think they will be blindly say, okay, I put everything inside, I don't know what's in there. They know what's in there. It's basically the most important thing, what's in there. So they will know also machine-generated data, how much do I put, how much does it change, right? So my answer to this is that these companies and the people, they won't go there blindly, but maybe they will use it, maybe they won't. Maybe they will use what has been generated by other methods so that it make them easier. I mean, one of the way, just on that, for the other company to catch up on GPT-4, etc., has been to use GPT-4 to generate. So they give a lot of query to GPT-4, so it generates a lot of answers, and they give that to do the fine-tuning step of their own machine. Okay, so that they catch up on what GPT-4 can do, which is fair game. So maybe they don't have the raw power, but they can mimic it well enough so that it works out. So yeah, it's a fascinating question. Okay.
Bonjour Nicolas Barraud de Figaro. J'aurais deux questions aussi, si je peux me permettre. Vous avez dit que l'IA devait irriguer tous les pans des armées. Est-ce que vous pensez qu'elles sont prêtes aussi à intégrer de l'IA dans leur programme de dissuasion nucléaire, pas pour prendre la décision d'une frappe, mais pour analyser les données nécessaires au préalable? Est-ce qu'il y a encore un blocage psychologique à ce niveau-là? Et deuxième question sur l'Ukraine. On voit bien l'intérêt de l'IA pour augmenter la précision des tirs, mais à quel moment ces technologies seront disponibles sur le front? C'est qu'elles sont prêtes dans l'entreprise, chez vous, mais est-ce que l'artilleur sur le front en Ukraine en dispose, et sinon à quelle échéance? Merci.
Oui, alors la première question, je vais faire Joker, j'en sais rien. Vraiment. Donc, il y a des outils qui peuvent aider à traiter de l'information, etc. Mais à quel point c'est utilisé, c'est tellement séparé que, franchement, je ne sais pas. La deuxième question, c'est déjà utilisé sur le terrain. Donc, après, à différents niveaux, avec des contrôles humains, etc. Mais le fait d'envoyer des drones qui aident à localiser des cibles pour aider les artilleurs à cibler rapidement, c'est déjà fait. Est-ce que c'est fait par toutes les unités d'artillerie? À quelle vitesse? À quelle fiabilité? C'est accès des données qu'ils ont et qu'on ne partage pas, mais le fait qu'ils utilisent de tel type de programme, c'est déjà le cas. Ouais. Et c'est pas depuis quelques jours, c'est depuis des semaines. Et après, ça avance, il y a des brouillages, donc en fait, c'est toujours un jeu du chat et de la souris. Hein. Mais l'IA déployée dans les drones pour l'Ukraine, c'est pas quelque chose de laboratoire. C'est quelque chose qu'ils testent et qu'ils utilisent déjà.
Bonjour. Unfortunately, my French is not that good. Mariam from Georgia. Thank you for presentation. I have a question. So what do you think about initiating an international multilateral kind of a charter or agreement about AI, which will be avoiding interventions from, for instance, China and ensuring the security in associated countries? Similar to what we have for 5G with US, the US Charter, which is kind of securing our countries from Chinese 5G intervention. Thank you.
Yeah, difficult question. I mean, I think it would be good. I wish for better collaboration between the countries, the companies. So I think it's there. I don't think we are ready there. The race is, I think there's, by the way, good partnership as well between companies, right? I don't say it's not happening, it is, but this is getting very fast. And clearly the world with China is already there for AI, right? They are not used. I mean, this is even right now in the US, a law discussed about banning TikTok in the US, so that's getting very real. So the world is really getting there. For AI as well, the company don't share that much. So I think it's already, so structuring that better might be a good idea, but I don't know exactly, and I'm not the best position to actually negotiate those. Thank you. One more question.
Thank you, sir. You talk about the three pillars of AI, like data, calculation, and talent. I would like you come more precise on talent. If I'm not mistaken, you were a recipient of DGA scholarship, and now you're working in AI in defense. Was it successful, and are there other ways to build this talent, or are they more as restrictive as the data you talk that are kept by some specific platform? Is it the same for the talent?
Yeah, thank you. I'm very glad to finish with this question, so thank you for asking it, for doing it now. The talent question is something that I'm really working a lot on. It's true that when I did my PhD 15 years, almost 20 years ago, it was a scholarship with DGA, indeed. And then I moved to CNRS and then Meta, so very far from defense, as the whole field of AI. So I think not very few people stayed there. I think this is part of the root of the issue, is that I feel that we are the talent, and I include myself, the people, we moved away from defense, especially for AI, because the attraction, etc. It's time that we bring this back. I think there have been some attempts as big tech company to work on defense like the Maven project in Google, where there's been a sit-in, so they don't do it in the US. I don't think that's the solution. I don't think it's good to mix what Facebook or Google do with like defense program. I mean, but creating like specific actors, and there are more and more that are dedicated, that brings this code and the ways of working and the iteration speed, etc., for targeting defense application. I think that's why I joined Helsing a year ago. I really believe in that. And it's working as well, which I think we can attract most of the engineers we have, and we have 150 right now. Very few come from defense. They come from Microsoft, they come from Amazon, they come from from small startups, etc. So there is really a wave of people that want to invest in these topics. They know they're important, they know they're here, they know they're real, but they're looking sometimes for the right condition to express their potential, right? And so I feel right now they were stuck between like historical companies that are not necessarily like fast enough and flexible enough so that they can use their muscles of integration and software, or academia, which is good, but like the gap was actually pretty big. I think now companies like Helsing actually try to bridge this gap as well, working with defense company, working with advanced also AI sectors, and I think it's appealing for talent as well. To say, okay, with what I know, when I try to sell jobs to Helsing, I say to top AI talent, say, we want you for what you know, for what you do best, right? I don't ask you to say, oh, join to work for defense because it's important for Europe and democracies. I say, of course I say that, but I say, I don't ask you to like square what you can do. Do what you were doing before. And we have people who started yesterday. I talked to them from Amazon. Say, do what you were doing at Amazon, but do it for us. And instead of working on like putting ads on the Amazon website, we're going to use if we can actually decipher like some electronic warfare signals, right? So, but for them, they will use PyTorch, some of the code. They are going to train on GPUs. So a lot of things that how they conceptualize works very well, and it works for us. And I think that's so, yeah, we'll start to bring back some of this talent, and I think that's very important. So on that, thank you so much.